I should wear the shirt just so you break my freaking balls.
Should.
Oh, God, yeah.
Everybody else is in.
You wanna check me here?
What the granules?
Give me levels.
You're perfect.
I haven't.
Raph, you just gotta aim at you.
Ken's in the suit. Does that make you Mr. Ward?
We know
make some spots.
We know who refer to me as
We know
Mr.
who
Brown.
Ken do is.
Shut that the hair.
Alright.
Raph, you gotta back up.
I gotta, yeah,
Block and
George
everything.
Smith.
Yeah.
Alright. I was just looking, that's okay, I'll save it for the
exactly,
podcast.
yeah.
George, you wanna close that door or no?
What?
You wanna close that door or no?
I gotta sit closer to you.
Yeah.
I got a whole thing worked out for that already. We'll go with it.
Okay.
Let's go with it.
Yep.
Is that George's expense?
Oh, yeah, I should say it. All right, there we go.
With the face and the voice, that's why it's cool.
Is Raph
I'm
doing
trying to
it
get
Look
for
him
pretty.
free?
Yeah.
Don't look pretty.
I was
No,
trying to bring it up
talking
too.
to it.
Is,
You got both.
I was
Is
trying to
Raph,
bring it up too.
Yeah.
George
You're
for
gonna
feet or not? Instead of
Yeah,
Puppet George?
No, I'm trying to make it so we can see. I can move over to that side.
No, no,
Ken's gotta come in a little.
Just say one big word.
Hey, Ken.
Everybody laughs.
Ken.
And then what?
Slide over to Joe just a hair so
Like
everybody can
full
get
release?
it. Are you in? Raph? Are you good?
I'm close
Seriously,
enough, I
Joe,
pop
we're
in.
gonna start next week.
Yeah, we are. Wait till you see what I already have lined up for you. It has nothing to do with Jesus this time.
Oh, boy.
What was it,
There we go. There we go. We're good. We're good. We're
We
good.
had so many. There was Mr. Green Beans, there was
Oh, God.
Docile, there was.
I know. I was waiting for it. So much.
We're live, everyone. We're live. Fire in your questions now.
So are we going live and recording, or just live?
Live and recording.
Yep. I'm trying to bring up. Of course, I can't find the wave pad. There we go. All right, ready?
Ready, guys?
Should I move the mic
Ready.
back farther?
Yeah?
Over
Ready?
this way, out of the way.
Testing,
We-
testing.
Whatever blocks your face is the best. As long as it blocks your face.
Wow.
Right about there.
Check.
Who's had more balls on his chin, you or Johnny Bench?
All right.
Don't waste them all now.
All right, Raph. You good?
I'm always good.
All right. Because you got to stop moving that thing because you're gonna make.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try to make that.
All right, ready?
Yeah, but it'll pop on here, and then I gotta edit it later.
Like
so.
that?
Yeah, that too. That's Dan the Italian does that all the time.
All right, ready, fellas?
Ready?
5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Freemasons podcast. I am your host, Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry, and with me tonight,
Worshipful Brother Joe.
Worshipful Brother Ken.
Brother Raph.
we got some others in the house sitting in the back. But so first thing I want to do, plug our sponsorship. www.thefreemasonspodcast.com. I make new shirts every single day. One I'm going to be doing for 4th of July. I'm actually going to be donating the profits to that one as well to the Wounded Warriors Project as well. The other thing I want to do is we're going to give some shout outs. Some people who like the podcast on Facebook. First one, a guy named Willie Tell. I'll get into him later. But
You saw that one, I was wondering.
there's a story there. We'll get into that at the end. But it's Brother Rob Fowler, again, my Egypt 47, who's got a shirt inbound for him. Greg Schultz, Joseph Schultz, and Adam Stoddard. So, brethren, right hand to arms.
Arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire. Good fire. Fire all. Together, brothers.
Vivat, vivat, vivat.
All right. Freemasons Podcast Facebook page. We had two things, actually. Before I get into the Facebook page, on Apple, we had a 2-star review. We always ask for a 5-star, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you want to leave a review, that's fine. I don't care what star it is. I prefer 5 stars because those are great because they get us more popularity and all that stuff. But if you're going to leave a lesser than a 5-star review, just tell us why. Leave a rating as well.
Give us some feedback.
Give us some feedback. Tell us what we need to fix, what you would like to see different, just so we can work on it.
Rocco's watching us online right now. He just went to arms.
Awesome.
Delayed as usual.
Speed of light.
Still screwing up the toast.
Still screwing up the toast even
Remotely.
from home. The other thing we had was a Facebook review by Greg Schultz. And I'm going to read it on here. It was yesterday at 7:58. I'm glad I stumbled onto this podcast. I've been a Freemason for 26 years and a past master of our lodge. The podcast is informative, raw, and relevant to today's Freemasonry. Keep up the good work, brothers. Awesome. So, we're going to recharge our cannons. Somebody find me that stuff.
Ginger ale.
Not a ginger ale. Although, we'll get
Already starting with the ginger. Already.
we'll get into
It's
that.
not always about you, Joe.
Well, it is kind of Hawaiian shirt night.
Well, there was a
Kind of
bottle.
like Gilligan's Island.
We'll get into it after this
Really
toast.
good.
'Cause we're going to toast.
Ginger.
We're going to toast Greg Schultz with brother Greg Schultz, and actually the past master, so it would be worshipful brother Greg Schultz. So,
Where are you?
filling the cannons, turning into a little bit of a shit show.
I didn't know if Joe had something over there. Could be a little Joe Normus.
I don't know what he's got over there. He's got some Johnny Walker Blue.
Yes. Everybody's welcome to have some. Very smooth.
We'll get
Yummy.
Into, we'll get into
Very
that.
smooth.
We'll get into that joke in a minute.
All right.
But anyway, to worshipful brother Greg Schultz, brethren, right hand to arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire. Good fire. Fire all. Together, brothers.
Viva! Viva! Viva!
All right, so we were just talking about. You brought something up here for Father's Day the other day.
Yes, a little bottle of Johnny Walker.
Right. So let's talk about this. What? There's still the bottle over there in the corner.
And it's full.
And
I mean,
it's
it's
full.
not empty.
Could you please tell everyone what you did?
Well, first and foremost, we shared the bottle, and it's gone. But then what I thought would be funny, since you like to bust on me for being a ginger, I filled it with ginger ale. So.
And you actually got two people tonight.
Oh, who was the other
Rocco.
Rocco.
Rocco just posted it.
So yeah, I
We got
refilled it.
Rocco tonight.
Figured it's similar in color, close.
It was.
And then I even posted on the group chat, "Hey brothers, not sure if I'm going to be there tonight, but I left behind a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, and
Anybody else?
feel free to have some. I'll always take some ginger ale."
It's all in the name of temperance, right? Which is the cardinal virtue that we're all working in.
That
So,
we're changing today.
So we've graduated from the polar prank to the ginger prank. So there'll certainly be more of that.
Actually, I found a whole website full of ginger jokes, so you're gonna have a really, really, really rough couple of months because I think it was at least 150 different ginger jokes on this particular website. So
Can't wait to hear you pronounce those.
Appointments there, so.
all right, let's talk about the last thing is the Freemasons Podcast community page. It was blowing up today.
It was a good time.
It was a good time. It was non-stop. Again, if you want to see all the comedy and all the fun that we have on that with not just us on the podcast, but we actually mix in with all of our fans and all the people who are followers and listeners of the podcast, we had one hell of a time. And Michael Olchin and I think Joe Oxley, they got the title. We have to come up with some sort of a trophy because
Winners.
Michael.
Michael took some fire today, though.
Michael started that whole thread today
Yeah,
on
he did.
on voting if you two should continue your banter back and forth.
And last I checked, it was overwhelmingly yes.
on top of
There
that,
was no to be responding.
There was no doubt.
I also didn't set my alarm clock this morning to go to work, so I want to thank him for waking me up with the Facebook message that yelled at me because I thought it was a picture of him in a soccer jersey, which turned out to be a rugby jersey, and then as an ignorant American I said, well, there's no such thing as football except for American football.
And then I attacked him saying he was from New Zealand. Which apparently if you're in Australia, that's not cool. And I knew that.
And actually, me and Mike have something for you coming up.
Oh, boy.
But anyway, if you want to see that community page, Rafferty, who was with us tonight, he monitors that, and if you don't answer the questions, you're not getting in. How many people did you can today?
3.
Oh, okay.
Gone.
See?
everyone got a message sent to them, no response, 2 days, gone.
Telling you, it's worth listening to the episodes and answering the questions, because there's a lot
I
of fun
did-
on that community.
I changed up some of the questions to make them so that you don't have to go back to episode 1. And you do have to listen a little bit.
No.
You could probably pick it up in just 3 episodes what the answers are. And if somebody knows, if you're asking somebody to join, send me a message, let them know to answer, and I'll make sure they get it.
Awesome. And if, I monitor it sometimes, so.
But
if
you monitor it all the time.
But if you've talked to me before, like if there's somebody who's talked to me before,
Yeah.
I know you're a legit dude and you're asking about the podcast through Facebook Messenger or whatever, I will let you in.
I
So
don't.
there is a backdoor. to
I
it.
do give everybody a little opportunity to answer the questions. I don't just nuke them right off the bat.
All right, last thing, I want to talk about before we move on to some other stuff. The Freemasons podcast also has a YouTube channel. Right now I have just a couple funny videos up there, but we're doing, actually this episode, I'm going to put on YouTube as well as Patreon. There's a couple things we also do on Patreon. Me and Ken and Joe have done it, I think, before when, Joe, were you part of the
Washington.
Washington's Rules and
Yes,
Civility?
I was.
Okay, and me and Ken have been as well. We're also going to delve into morals in dogma as well. Mike, can you just turn that fan down to low, if you wouldn't mind? Beautiful, thank you. Sorry, it's I can hear it through the headphones, it's going crazy.
It's your show. I just live in it.
It's all about.
Share entertainment,
Here we go.
George.
Here we go. All right, so if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll see we're going to be doing more and more live podcasts. All right, let's move on to the last thing. The last time we had a podcast, we picked the temperance card for Franklin's 13 Virtues. So, how did each one of you handle with temperance? I know Joe filled his bottles full of ginger ale, so he made everyone else perform temperance.
That was my contribution. You're welcome, all of you.
But what did you do for temperance? Which is basically, if you don't remember, it's eating not to be overstuffed and drinking not to elevation. How'd we do?
Did well, did all of the above. Been traveling a lot for work, so I've been in a car a lot and haven't really had time to eat or drink, so it was pretty easy for me.
What about you?
Well, since Sunday, which was Father's Day, obviously I had a couple drinks on Father's Day, but actually since then I've been pretty good. And I've been fasting every day, not eating breakfast. Of course, science used to tell us that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and now they're saying, no, you shouldn't eat until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So somehow I've been doing it right my entire life. So I continued with that, and haven't gained any weight this week.
It keeps you looking young.
It keeps my skin,
Back low.
my pores nice.
Back low.
Here we
So
go.
I've been doing okay. I wouldn't say perfect. I'm probably like Ben Franklin level
All right.
with that particular virtue, which he wasn't perfect with either.
He was actually horrible.
Yeah, he was actually pretty terrible.
It's pretty terrible.
I've had a crazy week myself, so I've been high and dry all week.
Yeah, I really haven't eaten too much, and I really haven't drank too much. So, we're going to pick the next card. And I'm going to mix them up here. But in no particular order. And who hasn't picked a card yet?
I don't think Rafferty has.
Raff. I say Raff.
That's where I was going with anyway, but I didn't want to be rude.
I don't think I have
You
either.
didn't even give it a second. You didn't give it a second. What is this? Cleanliness. Joe already lost. Cleanliness.
If you only knew what I did to your glass.
The card is cleanliness, and I will read it right from Benjamin Franklin's mouth as soon as I find it.
I don't know about you guys, but it's like 7,000 degrees up here.
Oh, God,
I'm in a
yeah.
suit jacket. Like I could really use a shower, so I'm totally behind cleanliness right now. It's the first thing I'm doing when I go home.
Tolerate no uncleanliness in body, clothes, or habitation. It's pretty simple. Practice hygiene. Keep your clothes clean, keep your home clean, keep your office clean, keep your teeth clean, keep your ass clean. I added that one, but all right, it's important to keep your ass clean. This is not only for your own health, but also how you present yourself to the world. So, I think it's pretty easy. Joe, you need to shower this
I mean, we're generally clean people.
Now there's
so
that.
Joe.
Twice,
Never
maybe.
mind. Never
week.
mind.
Twice, maybe.
Never mind. You know what?
It's pretty easy.
The end of the month is here.
Good at that quota.
All right, so.
It's time to, do some manscaping.
Don't start that, please.
Fire up
It's
the
a
weed
week when
whacker.
you get puberty.
All right, so we are Facebook Live. So what we are going to do is fire in your questions. Do we have any questions, Jeff? You didn't even. You got a lot of things.
I got a lot of hi guys.
What's up, everyone?
Hello, send in your questions.
I did get a question sent to me regarding, where is it? Give me a second.
While you're looking
The
at
biggest
that,
myths,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
the biggest myths of Freemason that the conspiracy theorists love to push. What one bothers you the most?
I would have to say that the one that bothers me the most is that Freemasons control the government and everything else. That one's my number one, because we all come from different walks of life. We all come from different walks of life. There's no government overhead and everything. And actually, it was on one of the earlier podcasts where they were talking about the wall down in Mexico, and one of the Border Patrol agents was rocking a Masonic.
I remember that.
Was
One of the
rocking
press
Masonic.
conferences.
All of a
One
sudden, it was.
And all of a sudden, it was the New World Order is trying to take over the world and keep you within inside so they can farm you out as cattle or whatever the hell the guy was talking about. That really bothers me because, there's so much more to Freemasonry than just that. It's not. You see somebody with a Masonic ring, and then you get, or a Masonic ring, or a Masonic, whatever the case may be, lapel pin, and they try to pervert it, like they try to make it bad. Like, it's just somebody who's proud of the fraternity, and to actually like try to twist it into some sort of weird conspiracy thing, that's what bothers me.
It's just what conspiracy theorists do.
Unfortunately. But that's the one that bothers me.
Now, I'm along the same lines as you. It's more so the devil worshipping cult piece of it that really bugs me.
Oh, here we
Took
go.
mine,
Now we got some
Jeff.
questions firing in
That's
here.
mine too. For whatever reason, there's still people out there that seem to think that we're somehow aligned with devil worshippers. Which, if you look at our symbolism and our ritual, at least that which the rest of the general public has seen,
Doesn't talk about it.
even in the ritual that I've seen, I am a Mason. We haven't talked about Satan once
Nope.
that I can remember.
And I've also
I
made the
don't get it.
correlation. I've made the correlation with York Wright in the commander degrees. That's
Yeah.
actually a Christian only.
Yep.
Because one of the parts of the degree, just kind of basically, again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but it talks about that you will wield your sword in defense of innocent maidens, destitute widows, helpless orphans, and the Christian religion. You actually have to go. You have to write down it kind of like I don't know what you call it, manifesto or whatever, or basically, I don't know what you
I
call
don't
it.
remember doing
Intentions.
that. Oh, yeah.
You have to
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
questions,
Yep,
and
yep,
one of the
yep.
questions is, if you were to defend, something in the name of religion, would you prefer the Christian religion? So, I still yet to see any type of devil worshipping stuff.
I mean, in the Commandery versus Blue Lodge and all the other Masonic appended bodies, there's a lot more religious Christian overtones in it. There's a lot more scripture. There's a lot more
Yeah, you doing stuff.
stories from the Bible, but we're not dancing with Satan. And
That plus in every lodge, there's a sacred text of law, a sacred book of law, whether it be the Bible, the Quran, the Torah. What did you say?
No, continue, I'm listening.
Okay. All right. I see that smirk over there.
What smart? Him? Smart?
Change my voice on this.
I swear to God, I have not touched the board, I don't.
If
What
I
are you
end up-
clicking over here though?
If I end up with the Munchkin voice out of all this, then.
Oh, my kid's watching, hi Georgie.
But yeah, there's
Someone
that
pronounce
sacred
that
book
shit
of
names.
law on the altar in every open office. So
again, I've also, we've talked about it, we don't worship, you know, the devil. The devil's never been brought up in any of our rituals, however, we do have a ginger here in the room.
Yeah.
Well, that's
He has
okay,
no
'cause I
soul.
have no soul.
Or, how about the one with drinking blood, that we drink blood in our degrees?
What'd I tell you
Yeah,
about
I'm
talking
like-
back there?
Here, let me swivel you around.
My kid's on, he's watching.
So, this is
Georgie.
Brother Mike Messer. I've gotten asked maybe 30 times in the 12 years I've been a Mason,
Right up to the mic.
oh, I don't know anything, that yes, we drink blood at all the major degrees of Masonry, and if I haven't done it, I'm not a true Mason. I'm like, are you reading Dan Brown again? Because
Yeah, none of that
he's
happens.
full of crap.
That's on the 360.
All right, let's move
You
on
have
to
to
some
take
other
that
questions, 'cause we got 'em
degree.
flying in here.
Oh,
All
good,
right.
good.
Brandon Sanders, what do you guys think is the best way to bring younger generation to Freemasonry? In my opinion, exactly what we're doing right here. It's a bunch of Masons up here, hanging out, just chopping it up, we're talking, we're just shooting the breeze. And, you know, we're putting it out to the world that this is how you bring them in. And again, I've made the mention before, there are many Masonic podcasters, I think there's over, I think it's 30, since it's 30
Yeah,
or
they've
40.
been popping up quite a
They've
bit.
been popping
over
up
the
quite a
last
bit.
6 months.
Some of them are very informative, they are extremely informative. But we kind of took it another way. We're being funny, we're cracking ginger jokes, we got a puppet that ridicules me on the regular, and it's fun, so.
You're really gonna work that ginger thing into every answer, aren't you? Every single answer the ginger thing.
I'm gonna try like hell
Oh,
until it gets stagnant, and then I'll end it, and then I'll make fun of the fact that you're Canadian. Ask Michael Alden.
Yes, I'm aware, I saw that. It's not even a real country.
Oh my God. All right. All right. So
I got
let's-
one from Joe Oxley. How do you address each other in public, especially if you recognize someone from Grand Lodge? Is it still brother, or is it their name?
You guys wanna take it first, or?
For me, it depends.
Or you want me to
If
lead
it's
it?
just him and there's not a crowd around, I will refer to him as brother. You're always safe with brother, whether they're a member of Grand Lodge, if they're a right worshipful, you're always safe with brother. But if there's other people around, I'll be careful and I'll usually refer to them by name, only because maybe the people they're with aren't aware. Like for instance, my in-laws don't know that I'm a Freemason because they're one of those people that believe we're devil worshippers. So if somebody were to come up, if I were out to dinner with them and say, hey, Brother Joe, they might start asking questions. So usually, for me, it depends on the setting and who's around.
I've always, and again, I'll plug it while I'm on it, George Washington's Rules of Civility and Decent Behavior in Social Settings.
Pleasant Company or.
Present something. I don't have the book in front of me, but anyway, it's a long title. But we do that on Patreon.
Lots of words that you
And-
can pronounce. We're getting you a picture book version of it.
All right.
Can't give them the crayons.
It's be like two guys shaking each other's hands, taking their hats.
But we do it on Patreon, and basically, one of the things that George Washington said of rules and civility and decent behavior was that you always speak to somebody according to their title. Every time, no matter if it's in a public or Masonic setting, I always refer to people as their title. I spoke to Brother Mike Adams before on the phone, and I always, the minute he picks up, said, "Right worshipful, how you doing?" Every single time. I try to anyway.
Yeah, see, I do the exact same thing. I'll call him right worshipful no matter what. Unless he tells me, hey, don't call me that in
Yeah.
front of my friends or whatever, because I'm one of those Masons that don't like to let everybody know that I'm a Freemason. That's an interesting point you brought up, though. I never even thought about that. Like, I'm always first to use somebody's title, just as a sign of respect.
And you know what?
But yeah, it's
I don't
not
really
always
like my
appropriate.
in-laws, so if you wanna get them upset, that's totally fine.
All right, it shall be so.
I'm terrible at remembering first names. So if I know
So
your
you just
brother,
say brother.
hey brother.
Yeah, that's what you said to me before.
Yep.
All right.
What about,
Let's fire another question in here. What have
I
we
got-
Raph?
say, what about
You got it in front of you?
bodies?
Joe's. Here, I'm gonna.
Brother Mike Messner.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
pull
let
a
me do it.
George.
That-
I'm gonna butcher your last name just intentionally. How's that?
What's up?
What was your most successful fundraiser?
Ooh, it's a good one.
Ooh,
I would have to say
I
our car
like his
show.
response.
I would have to say Morning Stars would be probably our car show. I think, oh, Raph, you wanna talk about it? You're Mr. Car Show guy.
Our car show, this is gonna be our 3rd annual this year, the end of September. We kind of started it
Here's contact information.
as thrown it together in 3 months and pulled it off. We had 67 cars, the first car show, overcast rainy day, and everybody was willing to run with it again. We gave the kids at the school, I think, $700 the first year. The following year, we doubled the attendance. Last year, we doubled the attendance, and I think at this point, we're a little over giving the kids $3,000.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I also, if I may, just want to interrupt. Joseph Schultz actually wrote. He said, "What up, bitches?" And that's probably a Puppet Joe.
Puppet Joe? No, it's Puppet Joe.
Puppet.
Yeah, you're not turning this on me.
He said the Order of the Eastern Star always draws the attention of the inverted pentagram, which equals devil worship. Okay, let's get into that.
That's the only one I've ever
It's
seen
actually the Order of the
before.
Eastern Star, which has actually it's not even a pending body of Freemasonry. It's actually women and men who it's separate from Freemasonry. So it's not mainstream Freemasonry. Secondly, the inverted star is actually the Seal of Solomon. We've talked about it on prior podcasts, that the Seal of Solomon is an inverted star within a circle. It was basically demonized by the Catholic Church because Jews used that symbol. It's actually a Jewish symbol, one of the Jewish symbols of King Solomon. So
the easiest
so
way
facto,
to denounce some other religion is to say.
that's pretty much what the Catholic Church has done
The
since
devil likes that.
day one, which is why still people who are members of the Catholic Church are actually excommunicated because they are Freemasons. Which we don't do that. We don't really judge you on your religion. We kind of, as long as you're a good person, we let you in, pretty much. So, anyway.
I'd like to go back just
Go
for a
back to
minute,
that,
because
please.
Steve,
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that.
Steve Spears just threw up, how did we double the attendance of the car show? And I was trying to type it out, but I typed slow. So, as far as doubling it, we advertised twice as much easily. Attended every car show, cruise night in the area. And we also got a local radio personality involved. Just to come to the show was a big get. The guy is an awesome guy for cars. Loves doing the fundraisers, and we had great weather the second year, which is a big bonus. All the trophies that we get are made by the kids in the shop. So they're heavy, but they're big, and everybody really liked them. And just each year we're going to improve on it. We have a questionnaire that we do. We keep an email list of everyone that comes to the show that wants to give us the email. So we let them know that it's coming up again. Just you take as much in as you can from each event and try to improve on that, and use the input from the people who are there and who regularly go to the car shows and cruise nights. And I'm hoping we double it again this year.
It takes a large effort, though. It's not just.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just you doing it. Like,
You.
I'm not taking any credit, this
You.
credit from you, because you kind of grabbed the bull by the horns by this one. But you need, 2 or 3 guys to kind of get behind you and really grab a hold of this thing, because, our car show is very intricate. You kind of set the whole thing up. You talk to the school, you do all that stuff. Then maybe somebody else is on a food truck, or, kind of give the.
So this year it's completely, the first year I kind of threw it out there and everybody goes, well, yeah, we can do a car show. Go ahead and do it.
That's usually how it works.
And,
Right.
Sounds
and
familiar.
everybody was willing to show up the day of the show. Nobody really knew what to do before that, and I kind of didn't know that much about it myself. Kind of winged it. The second year, I definitely had the complete lodge willing to do everything. I still kind of took the bull by the horns again and got everything done. This year, I kind of learned how to delegate. And I've given everybody who's been willing to take something, and I've actually kind of threw a couple things on people's laps and said, you're coming to the car show, right? Actually, Dan, I threw him on the bus. Dan, you're coming to the car show. Yeah, why? You are now in charge of the food.
Yeah.
And when it's easy because we have food trucks coming to it, and he actually knows 2 out of the 3 food trucks.
Cool, very cool.
All right, Adam Stoddard.
Italian food trucks, right?
Yes.
Adam Stoddard, what place have you been with Masonic ties that you recognized and made it special? Maybe a place kind of hidden in plain sight, things like in DC, or a stone in the Newport Tower, or just an old building with a stone with a master's mark.
Our
Well,
basement, right here.
Number one, I just want to clarify that there's no, I've been to the Newport Tower multiple times. I find it fascinating. I am a firm believer that it was built by the Knights Templar, but there is no definitive evidence of that. So there's no square and compass, there's no Templars, anything on there. So it's all kind of just speculation. So I want to be clear about that. The place that I've been that, is special to me is I got 2 places. This building that we were in, we've talked about before, is actually built by Carlos French, who was a Freemason, and he built it named after the Humphreys building, which is Xavier Humphreys, who died while he was master of Morningstar Lodge in office. He actually died as the worshipful master. It was named after him. And the other place that I've been to quite a few, but the other place that I found absolutely breathtaking, and I've said it before, say it again, House of the Temple in B-City, was mind-blowing. That place was amazing. The Washington Memorial, Masonic Memorial, is also incredible too. Mike Alchin, the Newport Tower is a tower in Newport, Rhode Island, that is speculated that it looks like the foundation of a Templar round church.
And it's way older than it should be
Way
based on where it's located in the United States colonies.
It also has a lot of astrological alignments, part of the holes in the wall that actually align to Venus, the winter solstice, and the summer solstice. I can never say that word. Don't start, Joe. I just want to be clear on that. So, but that's what I have for that.
I actually drove past a pretty cool site, got detoured off of, I think I was on 495 in Massachusetts. Took me through the town of Westford, which kind of sticking on your Templar theme. There's something in Westford called the Westford Knight. And it's actually a stone that has what looks like, and it's extremely weathered, looks like it has a carving of a Templar sword and shield, and the cross right on it. And it's like right in the center of town in Westford on, I think it's Depot Street. But it's one of those things that's come up a few times. I think it's potentially a Sinclair that's buried there that came over on a doomed expedition. Probably around the same time as the Newport Tower was built, if you buy into that logic. But it's a pretty cool thing. It's really hard to see nowadays, just because it's out in the elements, it's not covered up. But if you look at it, you can kind of still make it out, but there's some older pictures where it looks really cool, and it's pretty clear to me that it looks like a Templar cross on a shield and a sword there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Rocco just also posted Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts. There's a lodge room
Yes,
up on the 2nd floor.
that I've never seen, but I've heard, and it sounds pretty cool.
I just heard about a month ago that my son next year, I think the 3rd grade class goes to see Old Sturbridge Village, and like, here's what, you're gonna have a great time there. I was there when I was a kid, but here's what you gotta do. You gotta find this lodge room for Dad.
Report back. Report back.
Brothers, I was told, I don't know if this is true.
They can't hear you.
I was always told, because my father used to go there every couple of years, that if you show a dues card at the gate, someone supposedly will recognize you and lets you go up. It's supposed to be up on, I think, on top of a tablet. And it's not set up as a working lodge, but you can see how it was set up when it was a working lodge. And also, every year when I go up to Vermont, we take Old 8 to Old 7, there's this huge, gigantic lodge somewhere in Mass. I can't tell you the town off the top of my head, but it looks bigger than the New Haven building. It's no longer a Masonic lodge because it was sold a year or two ago, but this building was like 2 times the size of the New Haven lodge, which is, I think, isn't New Haven one of the biggest in the state, George?
What's that?
New Haven Lodge, is that the biggest one in the state building?
I don't particularly know because there are many other buildings. Are you talking about actually like square?
I'm saying the size of the actual outside of the building.
No. I
I don't know.
believe so.
Okay. I was saying, it's like, this building was twice the size of New Haven, I'm like, I don't wanna know
That's
what they
pretty
were
big.
doing in it, or how big this room is, cause I've never gone into it. And the other one I'd like to see, you were talking about Sturbridge, I'd like to see the one downtown in Manhattan. That's got, the
Ooh.
skyscraper that's got, what, 3 or 4 different lodges in it?
Grand Lodge in New York.
I don't know if it's Grand Lodge.
Let's move on. We got a couple other questions there. Do you guys have any ancestors that were Freemasons? Me? No. I'm the first.
I'm the first in my family as well.
As far as I know, I'm the first in my family, but I haven't really done too much genealogy, so I don't know for sure.
I
Pretty certain on it.
I am the first male in Freemasonry. My grandmother was part of the Eastern Star.
Very cool.
I personally am a 3rd generation, this is Mike Messner, and we actually trace back, my grandfather's grandfather was back, and his half-brother, in the same home lodge actually started from about 100 years before my grandfather was in it.
Dan also wrote that he's the first as well. That's because we don't have any records from Italy. I just want to throw that out there.
Now, just a question, are you a first generation member of the Lollipop Guild, or?
Second.
Is that,
All right,
just-
we're gonna start that shit again. All
Hey,
right.
What guild was that?
Not me, the Lollipop.
I
Guild.
drew first
The
blood.
Lollipop Guild.
What guild?
The Lollipop Guild.
And the name of the lollipop guild?
Oh my god. All right. There we go.
We should probably,
There we
before we
start.
get into other questions, we should probably explain for those watching live that, you know, they're looking around the room and Raph's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, I'm wearing a
Oh,
Hawaiian
yeah.
shirt, Ken's in a suit.
I
and
took
we've
off my
got George
Hawaiian.
over here.
I
so
took off my Hawaiian shirt.
It was supposed to be Hawaiian shirt night, but
It was.
I feel like it's more Fantasy Island, because Ken's in a suit, he'd be Mr. Rourke, and George would of course be Tattoo.
In vain. In vain. And the only problem with this, Joe, is I get all your jokes.
I know.
We're
we
a little
have
too
younger
old for
audience.
him.
Well, he didn't even know who the Lollipop was.
Exactly.
Above his school age.
Go ahead, go ahead,
That's
go
all right.
ahead.
No. I was just gonna, I was just,
He had to take off the shirt because his son was going to bed and he needed his pajamas back.
Well, it's got a flamingo on it, I think it's a garanimal. Google it for those in other countries, I don't know if they have those in New Zealand or Canada.
I'm just wondering what the strength on those buttons is on your shirt, though. I'm just,
Extra strength.
I was just wondering, is that like paracord or woven with Kevlar?
Rivets.
You're trying
Rivets.
Oh,
way
wow.
too
Yeah,
hard now.
exactly. He's really.
You're really trying.
Scraping the bottom
It's
of the
not
barrel
working.
tonight, George.
Oh, so let's move on.
Right,
Yeah.
are you looking for a smock
I
for
got
art class
nothing.
or something?
I got nothing. I got nothing tonight. Don't worry. Don't worry. I know you guys, this is for Brittany Eberg. I know you guys did a
great.
podcast on famous Freemasons. Is there a famous Freemason history that inspired you to become a Mason? It was me! Or a Freemason from history that just inspires you. I would go with, my favorite was always George Washington.
I was always a big fan of Ben Franklin. If you go around Philadelphia, there's so many things he was involved in, whether it was the public library, the fire department, the post office. Like, that guy left his mark all over Philadelphia, probably in more ways than one. But definitely, the city's built around him.
I like George Washington because one of my favorite stories about it is when the Continental Congress was sitting down and trying to figure out who's going to run the Continental Army. This guy shows up in full military regalia and just sat there. He didn't actually say, "Hey, I want to do it." He just sat there, and he was like what, 6'4"?
Yeah, he was an imposing guy,
tall.
yeah.
So he was
my
not.
size.
He was a pretty tall dude. Just showing up in the military, he didn't say a word. Just sat in the back corner, and then they well, pick him.
Pick the guy with the sword.
Yeah, pick the guy in the fanciest clothes, that's why I wore my suit tonight.
But the reason why I like it is because he was able to sit there and make an impression without speaking a word. And that's why, that's one of the things that I loved about him. Now, he was always my favorite.
I'm gonna be boring and say George Washington as well. He's
One of my favorites.
a lot of people's hero.
A very humble creature.
Yep.
Very humble man. What about you?
I got nobody. Didn't look into.
6 foot tall, George.
I inspire everyone.
My worshipful brother George Michael is my inspiration.
Anyways, moving on. Stephen Spears, do you guys hold a table lodge at St. John's Day at your lodge? Actually, no. We don't hold it at St. John's Day. Actually, me and Brother Messner are going up to, are you going? No, never mind. You're not part of the Grand Commander. Never mind, I apologize. I have a Grand Commandery meeting.
Actually, I am, but you didn't tell me the address. For Sunday?
Oh, I'll give it to you afterward.
425 Main
We do celebrate St. John's Day. I do it with Templars. Our lodge, a very long time ago, used to actually not do a table lodge, but we celebrated St. John's Day where we would go to a church. They hired a clergyman. It's all in the minutes and everything, and they would actually do a St. John's Day church service. I don't think we've ever held a table lodge on St. John's Day.
I know, I don't wanna say his actual full name, but Father Joe is a clergyman himself.
Yes.
He holds a St. John's Day service.
That's where I'm going
That's the
Sunday.
one, that's like,
That's
that
where I'm
might be
going
the
to.
one, yeah, I'll probably be there too.
Michael Alchin wants to know where Puppet George is. He'll make an appearance before the end. I'm
He's
sure.
on a timeout.
around.
He's on a timeout.
He's on a timeout.
Watching us with his beady little eyes.
Joe, does it bother you that the puppet's more famous than you are? Or
No.
more popular?
Does it bother you that I'm like a foot taller than you are?
While you're sitting down.
All right. Michael Alchin said, Don Bradman sealed the deal for me. Famous Aussie. Cool. Don't take your shot, George.
Close enough.
All right, let's see here. What do we got for other questions? Come on, fire them in here. Let's see here. I'm not seeing him on mine, but yeah, there's Papa George. He's floating around or somewhere.
He's on delay.
No, he's on delay.
He's sitting on an oval.
Gonna put him back in the box. Back in the box.
What was another question I'm looking back for right now?
Was it?
I think I just mispronounced obelisk. I think this guy's starting to rub off on me.
At least you can spell it.
I could spell it.
It's like misspelling through osmosis. Another word you can't say.
Where the?
Greetings from St. John's number 2 in Delaware. Very cool.
Hello, brother.
Was it the Joe Snopes' question?
You're
I
killing me
am-
moving that mic, Raph.
I'm doing it intentionally. I am Worshipful Master-elect in my lodge, and I am getting installed for next year. What is your best advice for a new master? Also, what would you avoid?
That's a good one.
All right. I think, I'll start it off, I guess. I'm trying to look for that post so I can read it back to make sure. I think for me, things I would avoid would be causing disharmony, and that's part of the thing of being a master is to keep harmony in your lodge. You need to, at one point, be stern when you need to be stern, but also make sure that you appease the brothers at the same time. The last thing you want to do is come in there and, for lack of better words, just be nasty and kind of, I'm the boss and this is what I do and everything. It's not how it works. It's not. It's my show. But in all seriousness, you don't want to go into a lodge and basically, now that you're the commander-in-chief, so to speak, you're the worshipful master, go into a lodge and try to think that you're going to impose your will and do things. I've actually, not a story, but there's actually something that, where a part of the commandery where they had, the commander had come in
and again, I'm not disclosing commanders, anything, but a commander came in and said, this is what's going to be done, and you will do this, I order you to do this. Depends on what you're ordering, dude, like, you gotta be very careful. So keeping harmony, to me, I think would be the most important thing to do. I'm trying to think, what was the other half of that question? You got it up in front of you, Ralph?
No, I was looking for other questions.
What would you do and what would you avoid? I
What would
think
you
is-
avoid? I would absolutely do a program. Don't just have a meeting where you come in and you know, just have a meeting, do the minutes, do the bills, call in the wardage, go home. It's not what I would do. Do something fun. Give everyone a reason. Again, I will refer back to one of the earlier podcasts of the 5 different, my coined 5 different reasons why men join Freemasonry. They all come for reasons. One being, my family was in here. 2, I'm military, I'm bored. I'm military, I missed the fraternity of it. 3, History Channel, baby. I love the mystery of it. 4, being I'm retired, doesn't necessarily mean old, I'm just retired and I got nothing better to do, I want to join a social club. And all these, and I have a 5th one, but all of these, I'm just giving you examples. Listen to the episode if you want to hear it. All of these things people draw to, and you know, if you join because my father was a Mason, that lodge should, you know, specifically pick that brother out and say, let's do something about his father. It doesn't take a lot of information, you know, to find out, you know, a past brother. I've done it on my own. Military, they want the camaraderie, they want the brotherhood of it. Things like this, just sitting in a room, just shooting it after the lodge. You have to keep them there. That's half the problem. It's not so much getting them in the door, it's keeping them there. So that, to me, would be my advice as a master, is to do programs. Ask the brother, hey, why did you join? Well, I was interested in the symbols on the back of the dollar bill. Do a whole program on the symbols on the back of the dollar bill. Even if half of these conspiracy things are BS, that's why he joined, that's what he wants to know about.
Yeah, and lean on your historian too, because you'd be
Absolutely.
surprised how much your lodge historian knows and how much they can contribute or even, you know, participate in those programs. I'd also say, adding to that, in terms of programs, take the temperature of your lodge brothers before you get into the east. So while you're making your plans and while you're scheduling your stated communications and while you're trying to figure out what your theme for the year is going to be and what those programs are going to consist of, you know, try to get the consensus of the brothers, take their temperature on what they want to hear about, and then align everything towards that. And that's how you're going to get the brothers that are active and the brothers that might not come to lodge very often. That's how you're going to get the buy-in.
Raph, you want to read off Joe Oxley's? Because I don't have, those are not live.
No, these are ones that I've received through the week. Why do some Masons wear all types of jewelry and clothing to signify that they are a Mason, while others do not like to mention that they are Masons?
All
Personal
reasons.
It
opinion.
really comes down to personal choice.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's just a personal choice.
I take pride in it. You know, I like flashing, you know, Masonic rings and Masonic, you know, symbols and shirts and stuff like that because I'm proud of what we are. There's other people that, not that they're not proud that they're Freemasons, but they believe that we are a, you know, society of secrets. We're not a secret society, we're a society of secrets. And they take pride in the fact that they want to keep it that way. And they don't want to be so much on the forefront. You know, it's just,
Joe wants to keep harmony in his family, so he doesn't, you know, want to rub it in his in-laws' faces that he's wearing a Masonic ring or
that is
something.
true too.
Everybody's situated, yeah, he kind of does. But everybody's
That's a
kind
whole
of different.
situation.
I've got a couple members of my family who are, I wouldn't say they're anti-Masonic, but they're a little squeamish because they don't know anything about it, even though I've tried several times to explain it to them. They're, you know, not as willing to hear my side of it. But I kind of like, to a certain extent, I like seeing people squirm. I like to get them out of their element a little bit. I don't like to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I'll wear like my Knights Templar shirt or something. Like, it doesn't have square compasses and stuff, but it's got, you know, the cross and the crown. And people people will ask me, oh, hey, what's that about? You know, my cousins, and I'll say, well, it's an appendant body of Freemasonry. It's the Knights Templar, and then they're more willing to talk about it. So depends on who you are.
Joseph Schultz, he has a great one. How do you wear your rings? Points in or out? This is always up for debate.
Oh,
I
sure.
love this one.
I don't know if it's auto-focusing.
Hold on, give me
I
a
have
second.
always been, my screen's frozen.
Give me 1 second.
I'm sure it's up there, don't
It's
worry.
gotta
it'll
be up there
at
by
some
now.
point.
Yep.
Oh,
I have
wait,
always
hold on.
been, and this is just, again, this is not written in stone. It's every lodge is different. Every Grand Commander. I'm not speaking for any Grand Commander. I'm not speaking for any Grand Lodge jurisdiction. It's per Mason, per But I've always liked the tradition of if you've received light, the points of the compasses are facing you. If you have served as master and brought someone to light, the points are pointed out. That's the way I've had it. But there's no set rule. That's the way I've always followed it. So my brother Joseph, my points are out.
My points are in. I like to remind myself of my obligation, even though I brought this
Again,
to light.
personal opinion.
See, I take an even different approach to both of you. Is I don't look at my ring when I put it on.
It's completely random.
However, it comes out. But
Completely
listen, let me finish. It's one of those things where if I put it on and I find that it's facing me, it reminds me of my obligations. I'm going to do something consistent with my obligations. If it's facing out, then it's like, all right, here's a day. It's my turn to give light to somebody, to give that information, and it's funny. It always seemed to work out where on days where I needed it facing in, it was facing in, and on days where I felt like I had something to add and I could help somebody become a better man or a better Mason, it was facing out. So that's kind of how I've done it.
Mike Lodgen actually writes, Ken, I believe I asked a question that you could answer last night. I have no idea, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No.
so, I wasn't very forthcoming with my answer either. I was trying to be funny on the Facebook page. So he is concerned that his feline may have a serious medical condition.
Oh, here we go.
This is based on the fact that apparently, I don't know how you smell a cat's breath. I don't go anywhere near my
We're
cats
starting
because
with cat
they're
gingivitis
little
stuff again.
terrorists, right?
Here we go.
But he smelled his cat's breath, and it smells a little stinky. So I guess my question is, I need to ask a clarifying question, Brother Mike Alchin. Does your cat's breath smell like just nasty cat food, or does it smell, like garbage or decay or something like that?
I think
Because
we've
then
actually
we
done
might
this,
have a
right?
gingivitis issue. So just clarify that for me on the Facebook page, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can with my my veterinary advice.
That got the ball rolling
This
last
is
night.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you,
never
Mike Walsh.
sparked this whole war.
There were claims of gingivitis going around, and then
And it just turned into a
It was just all
firestorm.
out.
I actually posted it,
really all
the
fixed.
gif of Game of Thrones where the dragon's just burning everything down. Because that's exactly what it was like all day. It was,
Yeah, I posted one of a carpet bombing.
yeah, yes,
It
you
was
did.
like, oh my god, and it was non-stop
Alright.
all day.
All right,
Well, all
so,
night for them, I guess.
All kidding aside, take care of that cat, Mike.
you out?
That cat.
I'm out.
You're out.
Past my bedtime.
Go ahead, Ken, say some words, because I shut his mic down.
Hello.
Nope, you're off. Okay.
Wrong mic.
Yeah, I got the right mic now. All right. Diana says your hair's on point, Ken.
Is it really? It kind of feels like it's flopping over a little bit.
I think
It's
she
kinda-
meant rat.
She might have meant.
What's that?
I think she meant your hair.
The camera's. Thank you, Diana. Appreciate that.
See you later. See you later.
I had another question.
See you later.
Oh, come on,
Oh,
man.
now my
You
hair's
know,
on point.
I work all day on my hair. What do? You hit it. You hit my hair.
You want to get me back?
One more shot.
Good night, brothers.
I'm not too. I got you. Stephen Spears writes, how would you all feel about taking inputs on your favorite Mason and why for a future podcast? Not to be asked now, just an idea. I don't quite understand what you mean by that. How would you all feel about taking inputs on your favorite Mason and why? Oh, taking inputs from the listeners? I'm assuming? From
Well, like their favorite maybe,
feedback?
or that they're gonna tear our choices apart.
I think he means like taking input as in from, listeners
Right.
chiming in everything, but.
Totally fine with that. I mean, you always say, give us feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us what you wanna hear, tell us what you want us to improve, tell us what you like, what you hate.
Yeah, I love the questions, like, I love all the input from all of it, so. Rocco Alfanzetti said, we like the bling, that's why we wear the rings.
That's true. I did become a jewelry man after I became a Mason.
Alright, so, we got about 10 minutes left, so, we have for,
Water in the window.
water in the window. That was a hell of a shot.
Great catch, though.
One of the things I actually wanted to start doing, which I thought would be, we're gonna do that on Patreon, is a segment that I wanna do. And, Brother Ken, would you mind taking this one?
Okay, so it was something that we discussed earlier today. And
Great idea.
I was at work. You were at work, but you drive for a living, so you can have ideas and think about them, and then you can recall them later on in the evening. I, however, have a job that requires
Hi,
me
Mike.
to pour my entire brain into a jar, and then I forget everything. So let me see if I can recall what we spoke about. So we talked about a Patreon-only segment. And I believe it was going to be a skit,
It's gonna be a skit.
and it was going to be loosely or wholly based on a particular national public radio show. Whose line is it anyway?
Yes.
Can I say that? Are we gonna get sued?
Yes.
Probably, okay.
No,
It's a parody.
we're
My-
Parody is
we're
My
calling
counsel
it-
told me that we're gonna get sued,
We're
so I'm
calling
gonna
it-
strike that from the record.
Whose ritual is it anyway?
Whose ritual is it anyway?
And that we're going to be, we're gonna try to do as much impromptu as we can. We're gonna have the questions ahead of us, and we're going to do something along those lines. And it's gonna be Patreon only, it's gonna be funny as hell. We're gonna try our best anyway, but then we got Joe. He brings it.
He comes up with the best singers, though.
What happened to your hair?
Raph messed it up on the way out. Why do you think I'm so
How does
quiet?
it look
I'm really
good
pissed
again?
off.
It looks good again, though.
No,
like hell up
no,
in the
You
go
look
on
like
the second.
David Hasselhoff on Baywatch right now, just like windblown
Yeah,
hair.
get the fan going. And I want to be in slow-mo all the time with the fan blowing on me.
It's like when there's a glitch in the Matrix.
Oh.
Like I just looked at him a second ago and he looked like, holy hell, and then I like
Very
looked back
sensitive.
and he looks beautiful. And like there was no intervening moment where
My
he could have fixed
ginger
it.
powers.
Barney Stinson, that's the truth.
Alright,
What do you
so.
put in your hair? You know,
Product.
I know all about not asking about secrets.
We know what Gideon puts in his hair. Yeah,
Yes,
on
we
Patreon. Alright, so I think we're gonna wrap this one up. We've been doing it for almost an hour now. What do you think?
This has been an hour already.
An hour already, 55 minutes and 10
I feel
seconds.
like we didn't say anything at all.
I feel like we didn't say anything else.
Yeah, today was just a listener interaction and
Yeah, no.
in honor of George, it was a little show.
Very nice. Alright.
You called me fat.
I didn't call you fat.
You insinuated.
I didn't insinuate. Puppet George did. And he
No,
just
it
said
was
that you
you.
liked Oreos. That's all he said. And then the next question was, we know you like Oreos, but do you like ginger snaps? That was the only thing that was brought up.
That's what the listeners decide on that one.
Alright.
I feel bad, Joey. Calls me fat every day.
What do you got over there, Ken? What do we got?
Was it Michael Alchin that said that?
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
He's a troublemaker.
He was saying that you put maple syrup in your hair. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Canadian shit.
Actually,
What it sounds like.
well, he's
Very
making a
feasible,
Canadian
right?
shot, which is fine.
Oh my
It's
God.
actually freshly squeezed kiwis that I put in my hair.
Wow. Eh?
Imported from New Zealand, his home country, and
Quite
it's
interesting.
big.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I
eh?
got kiwis there. They play soccer.
I love
all
how
kinds of
Joe
good
can
stuff
dig
going
not
on.
only on George and the brothers in this room, but also our fans.
I will absolutely, and that's one of my favorite things is that after we're done with the podcast, they listen to it. It's like, damn, that community page explodes with just, especially when it's usually with Joe ridiculing me and breaking my stones.
He's been actually pretty docile this podcast. I'm hearing
go.
I used the wrong word.
There we go.
I wasn't trying to start
There
something.
we go. Yes, you were.
He's
Yes,
been
you
pretty chill.
were.
He's been pretty chill tonight.
Oh, it's, you know, I've been attacked all day. It's kind of tiresome. And then Raph messed up my hair, so I'm really,
Raph did mess up your hair.
I'm really upset about
So
it.
Joe has the best.
So you guys were also all in lodge together prior to this podcast too, right? So you were all
He didn't
feeling
show up.
brotherly
He didn't
love.
show up.
Oh,
He showed up
with
late.
the shirt.
He just showed up with the shirt.
Well, never mind.
Hey man, I said I'd be here 8:30.
All right. Woody's here to wrap this up, guys.
Aye.
All right. Did you say I?
He said,
Aye.
Oh, I. Never mind. I thought you were making a Canadian crack. But
No, I wasn't.
all right. So for the Freemason podcast, I am Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry signing off.
Worshipful Brother Joe, signing off.
Worshipful Brother Ken, sign up.
Have a good night, everyone. And we're done.
That's all there is to it.
Good night, everyone.
We don't really do anything at all. We just
Good
All about me.